Good evening. I'd formally like to welcome everyone, including members of the gallery and the press, to tonight's council meeting. My name is Councillor Brett Cunningham and I'm the Mayor at the Golden Plains Shire Council. Tonight this council meeting is taking place within the council chambers at the Golden Plains Shire Council Civic Centre in Bannockburn and is open to the public. This meeting is being live streamed in accordance with council's governance rules, and I welcome any viewers joining us online tonight. As the meeting is open to the public to attend, if the live stream ceases at any time, the meeting will continue. I'd now like to do the opening declaration, which I'll recite on behalf of all councillors. We, the councillors of Golden Plains Shire, declare that we will undertake on every occasion to carry out our duties in the best interest of the community, and that our conduct shall maintain the standards of the Code of Good Governance, so that we may faithfully represent and uphold the trust placed in this council by the people of the Golden Plains Shire. Acknowledgement of country. Golden Plains Shire acknowledges the First Nations people. We also acknowledge that Golden Plains Shire spans the traditional lands of the Wadawurrung and Eastern Maar people. Council acknowledges them as the traditional owners and custodians. We pay our respects to both Wadawurrung and Eastern Maar elders past, present and emerging. Council extends that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are part of the Golden Plains Shire. Councillor Getson will be joining us online. I note Councillor Jepson is joining us at this meeting virtually in accordance with the governance rules. Councillor Getson, can you please confirm that you can see and hear the proceedings?
Yeah, I can. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And we just need to put your camera on if that's okay, please. Councillor Getson. Thank you. In the event that the technical failures mean that your absence during a vote, we will adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes to allow Councillor Getson a chance to rejoin. If Councillor Getson is unable to rejoin the meeting, we'll continue in his absence. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us to confirm the minutes and confidential minutes of that scheduled meeting. My apologies for that oversight. My apologies. Councillors, are there any apologies for this meeting or requests for leave of absence? None? Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us to confirm the minutes and confidential minutes of the scheduled council meeting held on the 23rd of May 2023 and the minutes of the council meeting held on the 6th of June 2023. Councillors, can I please ask for a mover? Councillor Whitfield, can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Gamble. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion? I'll now put that motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Thank you. Councillors, given we have a citizenship ceremony on tonight's agenda, can I please call for a mover and a seconder to move public question time to after item 7.1? Can I please ask for a mover of this recommendation? Councillor Rowe, thank you. Can I please have a seconder? Councillor Gamble. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Forward. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the citizens' ceremony. I'll take the stand up there. Good evening. I'd like to formally welcome everyone, including Christine Cousins, MP for Geelong, State Member for Geelong, in this evening's citizenship ceremony. My name is Brett Cunningham and I'm the Mayor of the Golden Plains Shire. It must be me. This citizenship ceremony is being conducted as prescribed in the Australian Citizenship Act of 2007 and the Australian Citizenship Regulations 2007 under the authority of the Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs. Tonight we welcome 3 candidates and I congratulate them on their decision to become Australians. Citizenship is a common bond which unites all Australians, whether they are Australian traditional inhabitants, first-generation migrants, or the descendants of early settlers. Our rich heritage stems from the contributions made by all of our citizens. As a nation, Australia has a commitment to various values and institutions, including parliamentary democracy, equality for all citizens before the law, freedom of speech and religion, and the opportunity for all. Australian citizenship also brings responsibility and duty to obey our laws, to participate in the electoral process by voting, and to serve on a jury of your peers if called to do so. Candidates, Australia, in particular the community of the Golden Plains Shire, takes great pride in your decision to choose to become part of this great nation. I'd now like to invite CEO Eric Brazlis to read a message from the Honourable Andrew Giles, MP Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Multicultural Affairs.
On behalf of the Minister, thank you for deciding to become an Australian citizen. Today you join a nation that is one of the world's most successful multicultural societies, with around half of all Australians either born overseas or with at least one parent born overseas. In Australia, everyone can be proud of who they are, and everyone should be respected, valued, and feel a sense of belonging. We are privileged to share this beautiful country with the world's oldest continuing culture. This is a fundamental part of who we are. For more than 60,000 years, First Nations people have cared for the country. Appreciating and understanding this truth is a vital part of what it means to be Australian. Australians are united by our shared commitment to democracy and the rule of law, and to freedom of speech, religion, and association. Our diversity is our greatest strength, and we prosper by embracing this. We believe in a society in which everyone is equal, regardless of their gender, faith, sexual orientation, age, ability, race, nationality, or ethnic origin. Ours is the land of the fair go, in which respect and compassion underpins our care for each other and our willingness to reach out to those around us in times of need. By becoming an Australian citizen, you make a commitment to these values and to contributing to the evolving Australian story. On behalf of the Australian Government, heartfelt congratulations on becoming an Australian citizen.
Thank you, CEO Brazlis. I'd also like to thank the Minister for providing that message of support for our candidates here tonight. Australian citizenship represents full and formal membership of the community of the Commonwealth of Australia, and Australian citizenship is a common bond involving reciprocal rights and obligations, uniting all Australians while representing their diversity. Persons on whom Australian citizenship is conferred enjoy these rights and undertake to accept these obligations by pledging loyalty to Australia and its people, by sharing their democratic beliefs, by respecting their rights and liberties, and upholding and obeying the laws of Australia. I would now like to invite Mr. Paul Michael Mitchell to come forward and pledge his affirmation to Australia. We used to go to high school together, long time ago. Flashback. If you could please repeat after me. From this time forward.
From this time forward.
Oh, there you go. I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people.
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people.
Whose democratic beliefs I share.
Whose democratic beliefs I share.
Whose rights and liberties I respect.
Whose rights and liberties I respect.
And whose laws I would uphold and obey.
Whose laws I will uphold and obey.
Congratulations, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Well done. Cheers. I'd now like to invite Mr. Max Robert Margee to come forward and pledge his affirmation to Australia. If you could please repeat after me. From this time forward under God,
From this time forward, under God,
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people,
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people,
whose democratic beliefs I share,
whose democratic belief I share,
whose rights and liberties I respect,
whose rights and liberties I respect,
and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
whose laws I will uphold and obey.
I would now like to invite Mr. Declan Leonard to come forward and pledge his affirmation to Australia. If you could please repeat after me. From this time forward,
From this time forward,
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people,
I pledge my loyalty to Australia and its people,
whose democratic beliefs I share,
whose democratic beliefs I share,
whose rights and liberties I respect,
whose rights and liberties I respect,
and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
and whose laws I will uphold and obey.
Welcome. Well done. I would now like everyone in the gallery who wishes to publicly affirm their commitment to Australia and its people to stand and join in repeating the affirmation. There we go. Please repeat after me. As an Australian citizen, I affirm my loyalty to Australia and its people, whose democratic beliefs I share, whose rights and liberties I respect, and whose laws I uphold and obey. I would ask everyone to please remain standing for the National Anthem and let you know that we're going to sing the second verse as well. Thank you. I ask everyone to be seated. Candidates, tonight myself and everyone else welcomes you as citizens of Australia, and we congratulate you on your decision to become an Australian citizen. You have made your pledge of commitment to Australia and its people and have been provided with a certificate to mark this occasion. This act of law is now completed, and on behalf of all Australians, I congratulate you and hope you have a happy and successful future as citizens of Australia. Thank you. Thank you. And to members of the gallery, you are quite welcome to stay for a council meeting, but if not, that's fine as well. Thank you. Public question time. Public question time runs for 30 minutes prior to consideration of the formal agenda by Council. We consider questions received with notice from the public. I will call each person who has submitted a question forward. They will come up to the microphone and ask the question as it was submitted. I note that the question time is not an opportunity to make general statements or enter into debate with councillors or officers. Questions is... Where's I got that? Very much. Questions, we've got 2 questions in total from Beth Glover. Thank you. The topic, policy regarding street lighting and register of septic tanks in the rural towns. So I'll ask you, Beth, if you can ask your first question first.
Mayor Cunningham, councillors and staff from Golden Plains, thank you for giving me this opportunity. My first question is, does the Golden Plains Shire have a policy for street lighting, particularly in new estates of rural towns? I was unable to locate any policy regarding street lighting on the website.
Can I direct a reply to your question from Director Josifovic?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We don't have a specific policy on street lighting, but we do have our infrastructure design manual, which guides street lighting, particularly in new developments. And it's common for most councils do rely on the infrastructure design manual for things like street lighting, footpaths, curb and channel standards we set for developers. Specifically, I can point you to clause 26 of our infrastructure design manual, which is online, pages 162 to 165. But what I can say, in rural residential areas typically are lit at intersections, bends and court bowls. We do now request all developers to fit LED lanterns to all the street lighting in order to lower the maintenance, power consumption and maintenance costs. We do also, under our infrastructure design manual, allow for decorative street lighting if the, if the circumstances are appropriate, I guess. Yeah, so heritage style rather than the straight up pole. Yeah.
Thank you. Beth, when you're ready, can you ask your That's okay, take your time and just ask your second question when you're ready.
Okay, so question 2. Is there a register of septic tanks in each rural town and the age of each tank with a view to assessing the impact on the water table?
Thank you. I'll ask Council Officer Wilson to supply a answer to that question. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the Environmental Health Department does maintain a register of all systems and installation details. The Domestic Wastewater Management Plan is proposing to undertake an inspection program for septic systems which are considered high risk, and this includes systems that may be releasing effluent from private property into watercourses.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Beth, for your time tonight and for coming and asking your questions. Councillors, we now move on to agenda item 7.2, which is delegates' reports and of informal meetings of councillors and records. I refer councillors to the agenda of this report. The recommendation is council receives the note delegates' report and informal meetings of councillors for the past month. Do I have a mover for the recommendation, please? Councillor Gamble. Can I please have a seconder? Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Gamble, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
It should be right now.
Yep, okay, thanks. Additional to the listing in the agenda item, then I represented the council at the following particularly noteworthy events: the Bannockburn Library Reconciliation Week National Simultaneous Story Time, along with the Mayor. We did consecutive sessions. I did 8, and the sessions with classes of combined classes and teachers from kinders and Mary MacKillop Junior grade up to grade 2s, and it was led by the library staff who did a great job, and I thank you for their endeavours there. I read one of the stories and at each group and was honoured to present a book from the council to each of the groups. At the Friends of the Inverleigh Nature Reserve meeting with our AGM was incredibly successful. We had Leon Costemans, who has just recently published this book, so that was an absolute highlight. It's probably the most distinguished book about Australian in-depth geology, but it's done at a layman's level as well, so you can learn a heap from it. We had over 70 people in attendance, including a minivan of geology students from Melbourne Uni. Leon Costemans is an old family friend from my childhood, so I gave an introductory speech and my family hosted his visit. He's well known among naturalists with his classic Native Shrubs and Trees of South Australia, which has been continuous print since around 1980, and his talk focused on the geology of the surrounding area 40 kilometres around the Inverleigh Nature Conservation Reserve, including amazing facts such as that basically along the Barwon River there now was the original rift division between Antarctica and the Australian continents. So I also attended the Zine Festival at Inverleigh, particularly notable because it was an incredibly different type of event than I've ever attended or been to in our shire. I brought along a couple of little samples to show the councillors. This one's 21 days touring around Japan. So basically the people who make them, they indulge in creativity at their own interests, but sharing them among a whole community of participants that came from our shire, from Melbourne, from Geelong. A lot of them overlapped with cartoons, Facebook groups and art collectives. So this event had great support and patronage from the local community in Inverleigh, notably the CWA Playgroup and the Playgroup. The Smythesdale Growing Places information session was a really important event that Council's currently preparing a plan to set the overall direction of our shire and how and where it should grow. So this was the first of the major community engagements. It was also really well attended by a very interested Smythesdale community. There were many interesting aspects to it, and also of note is the Shire consultant and bushfire planning expert Kevin Hazel was in attendance. It was conducted very well. Lastly, I attended the Koala Clancy Foundation group tree planting in Teesdale along the Native Hut Creek on private property. And that's a really interesting group working in our area. Their website is koaliclantyfoundation.org.au. So, just correcting the record on the agenda report, I didn't attend the Year 5 students presentation or the, and I didn't get to the Careers Expo, unfortunately. Thank you.
Councillor Gamble. Councillor Whitfield.
Mayor, I too attended the readings at the Bannockburn Library for Reconciliation Week. The readings, sorry if I cover some of the ground Councillor Gamble's already covered, but the readings were held at the Cultural Centre Library. The one I attended was for St Mary's Primary School children, with the stories and songs having messages on acceptance of difference and exposure to Indigenous culture, knowledge and history, and there were opportunities for questions and conversation interwoven. The mobile library also did an Indigenous storytelling tour, visiting Meredith, Rokewood, Dareal, Enfield, Haddon, Smyesdale, Linton and Cape Clear, and all attendees received a copy of the book that they were read, as did the school. I also attended the Inverleigh Progress Association AGM. Progress associations do a wonderful volunteer works that enhance the communities through localised projects and advocation to council. If anyone's interested, they can contact their local Progress Association about joining. As Councillor Gamble said, the Growing Places Strategy information sessions are advertised on Council's website. There are many being held, and if you're interested, I recommend getting along. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I had a good month this month with a couple of events. I attended the Rural and Regional Planning Conference, which was held in Marysville, so that was a great opportunity to meet with a lot of other councillors and planners across the Shire and sort of see some of the shared concerns that we have. That was held by the MAV, so always good to support some of those MAV conferences or events that they put on. I also attended the pretty big month for me with the libraries, having attended several different board meetings or emergency meetings that had to be held to slowly give updates with changing developments there with regards to the budget process, along with budget submissions from the public. And typically no one makes submissions, but there was quite a considerable amount of submissions made on that night. Also attended and selfishly attended, as well as wearing my council hat, the Careers Expo on the weekend, and had the opportunity to bring my 17-year-old daughter that is headed towards university or headed towards looking at different careers and opportunities. So it was good to actually attend that. Get to speak to a few people, but I think if that's something that we're going to have into the future, that was a pretty good first go up on it. So there was very informative, and there was a lot to be gained, no matter what avenue you're looking at, whether it's from joining the police force or trade or heading off to uni, or it's always quite surprising to see some of the courses that are available, including either a degree or a diploma in comedy, if you want to become a comedian, which I found was quite interesting. But anyhow, that was a great done and well done to all the officers and everyone behind the scenes that put together a very professional and well thought out and well run event. Thank you.
about, dropped out. Thank you, that's better. I think people-wise, I think we got up to nearly 300 people attended the day. We had a Q&A which went really well at 10 o'clock. And then as the day progressed, we had more people come in. But all the feedback, as I say, from the storeholders and there was a couple of principals from local schools. So we'll organise to have a bit of a debrief. I think it was a great first effort, and I think it's definitely laid the foundation going forward. Echoing Councillor Sharkey's words, well done to all the staff that worked tirelessly to put it together and to make it run so smoothly. Also on Saturday the 3rd of June, I attended the Inverleigh Belmont football netball home game where the Inverleigh seniors unveiled their First Nations playing apparel. The Inverleigh Indigenous jumper was designed by young locals Jared and Tanya Love, who live in Teesdale. They are proud Gundji Jamar Karay Wurrung people, and the jumper design included a hawk, which is an emblem of their family, and also included the Lee River, specifically the junction of the Bow and the Lee River being incorporated design. Federal and state politicians being Libby Coker and Michaela Settle were in attendance, and it was an extremely successful event and community-minded day. We say well done to both the Inverleigh and the Belmont football and netball clubs. Also, one of the highlights of the month is I was invited along to undertake and to do a presentation to Year 5 students at the Prep to 12, Year 12 Bannockburn College in regards to what and how local government works and what it is. The grade 5 students had been studying state and federal government already and had a very keen interest in understanding the role that local government plays. Over the 2 presentations that I did over 2 days, there was well over 60, 70 questions by the students. On behalf of the Golden Plains Shire Council, I thank the Bannockburn College principal and the staff for the opportunity to visit the high school and present to the Year 5 students. So that was it. Councillor Gamble, do you wish to close?
Nothing to add, thanks.
Thank you. I'll now put into the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we move on to agenda item 7.3, which is on page 10 of the agenda. Adoption of the Golden Plains Shire Council budget. Do we have any questions to Council Officer? Councillor Kirby.
Yes, my question relates to the numbers of residents who might have accessed the hardship policy in the last couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you. We did have a hardship policy in the 2021 and 21-22 years during the two, primarily the COVID years. We had 141 residents that accessed the COVID hardship rebate in 2021 and a further 62 residents in the 21-22 year. So a total of 66,000 was provided in the 2021 year and a total of 30,000 in the 21-22 financial year as far as the dollars that we've allocated towards it.
Councillors, do we have any other further questions? Councillors, we have a recommendation before us. Can I please ask for a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Sharkey.
Thank you very much. I'd like to propose an alternative motion to the recommendation that has been circulated and discussed by all councils prior to tonight. That is the one that has been shared around.
Councillor Sharkey, sorry, just for the benefit of people watching online who may watch the video, would you mind please reading out the applicable changes that you would like to say? Thank you. So
the 11 so just with so number 1 remains the same, and then number 2 is that we adopt the 23 23-24 budget contained in Attachment 1 in accordance with Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2020, subject to the following changes. A reduction of land sales income by $1 million, a reduction of the following capital projects by the following amounts for a total combined reduction of $500,000. Footpaths reduced by $50,000, active recreation trails reduced by $25,000, curb and channel reduced by $50,000, car parks reduced by $50,000, climate emergency plan initiatives reduced by $55,000, environmental initiatives reduced by $75,000, Shire beautification reduced by $25,000, community and recreation facility beautification safety works reduced by $50,000, cypress tree replacement program reduced by $25,000, emergency drainage works reduced by $45,000, open space strategy implementation reduced by $50,000. And number 3, note a reduction in the underlying surplus of the 23-24 budget to $557,000, or a $500,000 reduction there. So all the other items then.
Point of clarity there, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, certainly.
Could you just get Councillor Sharkey to read that figure again, the last figure?
Of the point number 3, note a reduction in the underlying surplus of the 23-24 budget to $57,000.
Thank you for that clarification.
And then I then so the parts that have changed. Number 4, might be off just reading this because number 4 in the recommendation is different to the, so it's not highlighted. If someone can read ahead and pull me up when they become the same, but item number 4 is
the rest is all the same, correct?
Yep. No, item.
I'll read number.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Sharkey. I'll ask for a seconder for this alternative motion. Councillor Whitfield. Thank you. Councillor Sharkey, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Thank you very much. Sorry, I found that more complicated than it should have been. Councillors, it's quite. I've made a heap of notes here, but when you actually read that out and forced to.
Sorry, Councillor. Just a microphone. Sorry, we're having some problems with all of them tonight. Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, Councillor Sharkey.
I've made a good few. That's on, but it's not on. Yep, lights aren't on, but someone's home. When you go through that, so I've made a good few notes here, and I'll go into them. But when you actually have to read that out line by line, it's quite concerning, and it sounds quite drastic. But I do believe, councillors, that it is the right decision. I do feel that this motion, this alternative motion, is us as a councillor group being more open and transparent with our community. It is a difficult decision that we make here tonight to pull these, reduce the budget by $1 million. We've gone through, and it's made more complicated or more difficult, that we've gone through our statutory consultation period, and this alternative is taking $1 million out of the budget, but it is reducing our risk, councillors. Over the past 3 months, and in particular from the moment we put our budget out, we are in an economy that is drastically changing. I don't feel that tonight will be the only time throughout the year that we will have to make changes to our budget or our expectations of the budget throughout the year. Over the last 3 months, 3 months ago, we were told that it was going to be quite unlikely that interest rates were going to be rising. Since then, we've experienced 2 rises, and we are told to expect another 3 rises. That has an impact, particularly to sales of real estate and land. This budget is proven to be heavily reliant on that expectation. So we are reducing our risk with regards to land sales. And I think we are doing the mature thing here by doing that tonight, rather than coming back in 3 months' time or 3 weeks or 6 months' time and telling the community that we're going to be now deferring something or pulling something out of the budget to address concerns. So I think it's far better to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Last year, we know that we sold 3 parcels of land. That's what had been budgeted for. The expectations of this budget at the start was to expect $3 million in sales. So we're reducing that risk down. We came together as a councillor group to have the conversation about how the landscape has changed and whether we should just adopt the budget that was recommended before us. But I think, although that would have been the easy decision to do, I think we know we would have left this chamber here tonight knowing that we were, in part, not entirely lying to the community, but not being as transparent as probably what we should with what we have learnt over the past couple of months. So for us to sit down, the items that we went through, we tried to highlight reductions in areas that weren't going against our overall communications throughout consultation. Many councils are cutting their cloth this year, and unlike others, we've chosen not to cut services or take away from essential services such as libraries. The items that we have listed here are ones that are mainly spread across the whole Shire. This has been a challenging budget process, and I must admit it was disappointing that we only had 4 submitters make formal submissions. The public do play a critical role in this process, and their submissions certainly help shape the overall budget. This budget proposes increasing rates by 3.5%. It is the biggest increase since rate capping, largely due to inflationary reasons. Each year we decide to. Each year we have decided to take the full rate cap, and this will, by doing this, it will at some stage make it easier for future councils to reduce their rate burden if they should wish to do so. At the next rating review process, I certainly would like to see, we've got a budget increase this year of approximately $300,000, or a 90% increase to supplementary rates, and in my opinion, this is something that we should be looking at a rating strategy of putting that sum of money back to help reducing the rate burden.
Point of order.
Yes, sorry, Councillor Sharkey.
Councillor has overextended his time.
Yep. Councillor Sharkey, you'll be able to close, so I'll come back to you if that's okay. If you just want to finish on that point, I'll allow you to do that. That's okay.
Can I seek just an extension? I just mindful there's been just a couple of hiccups. It is a pretty important item.
I certainly support that, and I'm happy to do that.
We did see a large extension of time on listening about koalas and
No, excuse me, Councillor, it is a very important. Thank you. I'll take that on board. Councillor Sharkey, I'll allow you the extension of time and just continue, please, because it is a very important. So thank you.
Thank you.
You can have up to 2 minutes.
Point of order. Shouldn't he seek a mover and a seconder for that extension?
No.
Okay, clarification.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you. Thank you, Councillor Gamble. Councillor Sharkey, continue, please.
Thank you very much. So, This budget has a total operating revenue of over $60 million. The operating revenue expenditure of $48.9 million to continue to deliver services to the Golden Plains community with increased focus on infrastructure maintenance. We have an operating surplus of $13.4 million, an underlying surplus now with this recommendation from $550,000 down to $57,000. And the I suppose it is, and I know it's contentious with the reduction of those things, but the underlining message that we have told the community right from the onset of this is that we were going to address roads and drainage, and whilst no budget will ever deliver the sum of money that we'd like to put into roads and drainage, I strongly believe that this goes a long way to addressing the community's concerns. Thank you.
Councillor Sharkey. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thanks. I think I will, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So this alternative puts forward some late minor alterations, and they're as a result of council responding to the continued economic uncertainty that everybody faces heading into this next financial year. It's important for this council to adopt a budget that reduces risk given the climate with increasing interest rates and inflation. So to reduce the potential for a shortfall and prevent having to make tough decisions on the run throughout the coming year, adopting these minor changes to the budget now would be a council setting real expectations and being transparent with the community. Having said that, this budget continues to provide the services that Golden Plains residents expect. And should council's income surpass expectations, reinstatement of those reductions can be considered. This budget does deliver a surplus of $57,000, and as we know, a surplus is much better than a deficit. I'll just point out some of the key points that I consider are key points in this budget. The borrowings for this budget sit at 29% as a percentage of rates and charges. This has come down from around 57% since 2020, which is an absolutely fantastic result. There is an increase though to the waste management fee, which arises from the state landfill levy and curbside collection contractor increases. There's also increased focus, as Councillor Sharkey said, on infrastructure maintenance, a total capital works investment of $23 million, which is comprised of 35% for asset renewal, capital upgrades of 55%, expansion 5%, and new assets 5%. Some of the key projects are emergency drainage works through various locations around the Shire, the Northern Streetscape implementation, the Bannockburn Family Services Centre extension, the Wody Alec lighting, Bannockburn Victoria Park Netball Pavilion, the Teesdale Don Wallace Rec Reserve, and the Inverleigh Youth Space, just to name a few. There's also the local roads and community infrastructure projects from Phase 4, which include the Sebastopol Smilesdale Road, the Inverleigh Golf Club septic system, the Ross Creek public toilet and septic upgrade, the Linton Rec Reserve safety fencing, as well as the continued road resealing and road improvements program. It is a solid budget that delivers on the highest community priorities. Once again, this is a council setting real expectations and being transparent with the community. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Whitfield, are there any other councillors who may wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Kirby, thank you. Councillor Rowe, I'll come back to you shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This budget incorporates the total operating revenue of $62.3 million, as we've previously heard twice. Operating expenditure of $48.9 million will deliver services to the Golden Plains community with an increased focus of infrastructure maintenance. The total capital works of $23.1 million makes up 35% of our asset renewal. So we're very pleased to make sure that we're keeping on top of our assets. Capital upgrades 55% and new assets of only 5%. We as a council have committed to improving local roads, bridge replacement, curb and channeling and drainage. However, it is disappointing that the state government has reduced our integrated health program health promotion grant for 2023-24 by $49,000 as part of funding cuts to all providers of this program across the state. But for Golden Plains, this comes on top of the closure on the 30th of June of the mental health counselling program that has been provided in recent years by Mallee, previously called Barwon Child, Youth and Family. I know the CEO is already advocating to our local MPs and that the Health and Wellbeing team is working to develop partnerships for the return of mental health services as soon as possible. And I hope the state and federal government support council in this effort. I have had very positive feedback from this service, and I hope that for all participants of this service, it can be reinstated from future funding. With the increase in interest rates at the present time, I would also like to mention the hardship rate rebate with an allocation of $50,000 in the budget. And so I urge any residents to make contact with the Rates Department to help support them through these tough times if the need arises. So regarding the budget, I think that it's a responsible budget. I think overall the councillors have sat around the table, discussed this. Next year I would like to bring it to the table a lot sooner and have community consultation a lot sooner in the process as well. But at the moment I think we are in a good place, and as Councillor Whitfield said, we have reduced our rates, that, you know, our borrowing, so we have come down to 29%. However, within council, sometimes we do have to make hard decisions, and we might need to raise money for emergency problems that might arise. And so, for example, when we did have the floods, that was something that was very extreme, and I think the future can lend itself to going for any sort of loan if the need arises. But at the present time, I think the changes that we have made in the budget you know, it's the times that we're in at the moment, so we have to be prudent, and I look forward to us passing this budget. Thank you.
Councillor, yeah. Councillor Kirby. Councillor Rowe used to speak to the motion.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, listen, I think a lot of things have been covered with what I was going to say, but I'd have to agree that the right decision was made to reduce the budget by $500,000, and we've been more upfront with our ratepayers and residents as a result. I'd just like to mention in the budget we've got 5 additional full-time employees. The majority of these will be in the outdoor department, which is great to see. And with the capital works, I just want to mention of the $23.1 million capital works program, council is investing more than $7.9 million into the renewal of assets, including our extensive road and bridge network. There's money there for local road resealing program, local road improvements, and as Councillor Whitfield mentioned, money there for emergency drainage works as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Any councillor that may wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Gamble, thank you.
I won't be supporting this amendment. While I support a more conservative approach to the budget because the downturn in the market, etc., I have problems with this, the way this has been achieved in this alternative motion. But I'll begin by complimenting the council officers' work, primarily from our small but dedicated and professional finance team that I have complete confidence in. Also to the community members who made submissions, thank you. our budget should reflect council and thereby community priorities, and it should be determined by strategic objectives created in partnership with the community and strategic plan documents such as our climate emergency plan. The financing for this budget included bottom line assumption of 6 block sales and needing 5 for a break-even situation. Hence, seeking to save $1 million. The blocks are worth about 500,000 each. I accept and support the moves to be more conservative and accept there's been a downturn of market and slowing of land sales in recent times. However, there is a big undersupply of housing and strong increase in population with a lot of demand around Australia. I'm not happy though with the way that this funding cuts basically have been determined. In order to achieve the 500,000, I consider the targeting of areas I and the people who elected of me has a real concern for me. With things like the active rec trails being cut down, we've already seen lately in the briefing from the ongoing, from the draft of the Tracks and Trails strategy that had the most significant amount of submissions written on by the community. So we have to now tell them there's an actual reduction in money for actually achieving anything in that context. That's what I read out of it. With the climate emergency, it was already what I consider a meagre $130,000 was allocated, and that's been cut. So cut by another $55,000. With environmental initiatives, I doubt the other councillors could actually tell me what these initiatives are, and that's part of the problem I've got with the targeting these areas.
Councillor Gamble, I'll allow you 2 minute extension as I did afford Councillor Sharkey, but it'll be 2 minutes, thank you.
We're making sort of like, this is not good governance because we're making cuts to areas where councillors aren't even aware of what the actual implications of the cuts will be. There's also open spaces targeted. These are all things that are really important. I proposed alternatives, but they weren't taken on board. That seeming such as a single deferment of a bridge project could that there's $600,000 allocated in the budget for that. That could cover this. It would only delay the bridge project by 1 year, and we wouldn't be having these situations of sort of cuts with no understanding of implications going ahead. There's also items such as the 5 new full-time employment positions. There's, I believe we've gone overs in the drainage category, and we're entering an El Nino cycle at the moment, and a lot of these drainage works are for long-term mitigation, and that could be taken out over a longer term. $750,000 for sports and rec, including $175,000 just for future design. Yeah, I find it really disappointing. There's other things I could go on with too. If you compare like in the leadership section of the agenda, the amount of money and expenditures there, $2.7 million for digital transformation, $1.2 million for people and culture. I mean, yeah, normally these sort of cuts should be spread across different areas. I don't accept that it's a locality issue. The funding cuts should be shared across the board, but this seems, I'd almost say, political and targeted unfairly.
Thank you, Councillor Gamble. All councillors spoken. Councillor Getson, have you wish to speak for or against the motion? Can't hear you, sorry. Can't hear you, Councillor Getson. You might have to turn your microphone on. might be able to do it from here. Just a moment, if you can hear me.
Yeah, he's on now.
Did you wish to speak either to or against the motion?
Can I speak to the motion? I think this is good. This is a situation where we're not putting the cart in front of the horse. It's been well thought out through the councillor group, and I think it's just the time that we have to pull our horns in and let the ratepayers know what's happening and be transparent. Thanks, Mr Mayor. I am supporting the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Sharkey, would you like to close?
Thank you very much, and largely share the thoughts expressed by most councillors on this item. It's not an easy decision, and it's not easy to disagree with Councillor Gamble's comments. If it wasn't those items, it would be something else. I do probably dispute the fact that, you know, I think we as a council, with regards to this isn't or shouldn't be portrayed as something that's just on climate change. We have put that policy together. We have declared a climate emergency, and there is so many embedded out of that policy that we have put in. There's so many things that are embedded in this budget that we could pull out and call as part of those changes. You know, our community now this year will see themselves putting in the 4-bin system, updating to glass. That's going to help reduce carbon emissions and landfill. So there's so many different other items within the budget that we are doing with regards to climate emergency plan. It is a tough budget. I believe that these changes that we have made, they are small numbers of an overall budget, and we have picked a lot of little items there that are going to have repercussions in those areas. But this is a living and breathing document. We're going to be looking and analysing at this budget. We've got some tough decisions ahead of us. Councillors, we've been fully warned and prepared that, you know, a lot of our budgetary pressures are going to come from projects throughout the year, that costs are going to escalate. And I dare say that some of those items that Councillor Gamble mentioned will come before us. We are choosing to cut our cloth here, and I don't think this is the end of it throughout the year. There will be tough decisions ahead of us. This budget does an awful lot in addressing a lot of concerns by us, but ultimately we have reduced our risk and liability to the community. We are being open and transparent. Without question, that my inbox or emails coming in, if I was to look at it, it is drains, it is roads that the ratepayers of this Shire are putting an awful lot of pressure on us to address. We have collectively spoken about this process. I think it's a yearly complaint that we have, and it's not just us as a council group, it's every single council group in the state of Victoria get to this stage and wish that we had a little bit more skin in the game or a little bit of there. So we have had some great conversations with the Director of Finance with regards to this process next year, but I also put it on ourselves, councillors, to step up as well and take a little bit of ownership of the budget going forward, so we can help you know, get over the budget a little bit more. It is, I share Councillor Gamble's comments with regards to making changes at the 11th hour. It's not something any of us would want to do. But if we weren't going to do it today, we all know there's not a councillor here that would disagree with the statement that at some stage we were going to have to make this tough decision.
Thank you, Councillor Sharkey. I'll let you finish on a note if you wish.
Thank you very much.
All done. Thank you. Councillors, I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried.
Have a division, please.
Certainly can. Councillors, all those in favour? Councillor Kirby, Councillor Sharkey, Councillor Getson, Councillor Rowe, Councillor Whitfield, Councillor Cunningham. All those against? Councillor Gamble. Noted. Thank you. Motion is carried. Councillors, we move on to agenda item 7.4, Community Vision 2040 refresh. Councillors, I refer you to page 19 for the recommendation of this report. Are there any questions? If not, can I please ask for a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Kirby, thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the recommendation or the motion? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Golden Plains would like to commence a refresh of the 2040 community vision for the Shire. This is not a rewrite of the original plan, but an update to build upon the previous plan. Some of the main drivers will include the COVID pandemic, what impacts and lessons were learnt, including various aspects of life, including the way we live, work and interact. This could be a revolution of our priorities. It will also provide a vision for the future regarding our Growing Places strategy and what our communities could look like in the future. Community consultation will take place in 2024. This 10-year plan helps us in the development of the council plan and that the community is engaged in strategic planning and decision making for the future of our Shire. In the last plan, we had 4 key priority areas. They were a sustainable, 4 key priority areas, which were growth and development, 2, connected communities, 3, a vibrant economy, and 4, environmental stewardship. This vision will reflect the collective aspirations and priority of the residents. I look forward to this going ahead and everyone providing some input from the community, and it is also going to be very interesting to see what the council staff come up with as to what they have reflected on in the last 4 years of this 2040 vision. This is we only have to do this plan once every 10 years, so for it to have a refresh now, it is very early, but we as councillors do understand that this will be a good refresh for the next group of councillors that come in at the next election. So rather than everything being on top of them when they first get into council, it will be, they can take place if anyone is interested in becoming a councillor. It is a really good time now to put your hand up next year when it does go out to the public and have a say on what your future vision and aspirations are for the Shire. So it'll be very interesting to see what the other councillors think, and but I'm all for this going ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kirby. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Briefly, thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillor Kirby has covered all the pertinent points there. I'd just note that... Oh,
sorry, excuse me, Councillor Whitfield, just might need to tap you.
Hello.
That's better, thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Councillor Kirby's done a great speech on this item. She's covered most points. I should note that Councillor Kirby was on the original committee that created the 2040 vision, and would like to acknowledge her efforts and input. And yeah, once again, thanks to those community members and other stakeholders that were on that committee that created it. And this is just a refresh rather than a rewrite, and it ensures the vision is current for the next council. So thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Whitfield. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Any councillors? Councillor Gamble.
No comment.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak against the motion? If not, Councillor Kirby, I'll ask you to close.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I think 2024 is going to be very interesting to see what comes of the community engagement, what their thoughts have been for the last 4 years, and hopefully even looking forward with our strategic planning. You know, we did get the feeling that our residents did want to keep it a rural shire. They don't want the big growth, but they want to keep it as rural as possible because they love being connected to their communities. So whether you live in Bannockburn, Teesdale, Smythesdale, Linton, it doesn't matter. Everyone wants to keep it a rural shire, and that's what makes it a really great place to live. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Kirby, I'd also like to support Councillor Whitfield's comments regarding recognition of Councillor Kirby's and the community's role in this document. Councillors, I will now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we now move on to agenda item 7.4, adoption of the Domestic Wastewater Management Plan 2023. I will refer councillors to page 23 of the recommendation and take it as read. Are there any questions regarding this agenda item to the council officer? If not, could I please ask for a mover of the recommendation? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Can I please ask for a second of the motion? Councillor Kirby. Thank you. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased to move that Council adopt the Golden Plains Shire Domestic Wastewater Management Plan 2023 as attached in the agenda. As part of the state environmental protection policies, a domestic wastewater management plan is required to be updated every 5 years. This report has been compiled by RM Consulting Group. It aims to clarify Council's responsibilities for overseeing the management and installation of on-site wastewater management systems and plan an approach for Council to meet these responsibilities. Most dwellings within Golden Plains Shire are unsewered, resulting in approximately 8,500 existing on-site waste management systems. The density of OWMS increases at either end of the Shire in close proximity to Geelong and Ballarat, particularly in and surrounding Bannockburn, Teesdale, Inverleigh, Lethbridge and Batesford in the south, and Smythes Creek, Haddon, Scarsdale and Linton in the north. Meredith also has a high density of OWMS. Only 3 towns in the Shire are sewered: Bannockburn, Smythesdale and Enfield. These areas cover less than 5% of the Shire. 2 water corporations deliver water and sewerage services to customers in Golden Plains: Barwon Water in the south and east and Central Highlands in the north and west. There is a catchment area for potable water connected with the Moorabool River in Barwon Water's service area. Now, the report has investigated risks associated with OWMS according to locality, and of the areas investigated, Teesdale, Inverleigh, Lethbridge, Maud, Meredith, Scarsdale, Linton, Rokewood, Haddon, Smythes Creek, Cambria Hill and Napoleons, Meredith was identified as high risk due to the town having a relatively large township zone area adjacent to a tributary creek in the Moorabool catchment. The community has previously expressed concern regarding stormwater drainage and environmental issues throughout the town, including impacts on the creek. These issues have been thought to be compromised by failing on-site waste management systems. There's been an increasing number of complaints regarding the on-site management systems discharging off-site, and the demand for growth has been around for a while in Meredith. Recent infill growth, including the development of small lots, 2,000 to 3,000 square metres and less, has further increased the density of these wastewater systems within the township zone and has been associated with several complaints. The resulting recommendation from the report is for Meredith to be confirmed as the highest priority town in Golden Plains Shire for sewerage, including planning, environment, health teams, gauge indicative level of support from the local community and gather evidence to support a case for sewerage, engage with Barwon Water and work through the steps required to demonstrate the case for sewerage, and if successful, work with Barwon Water to put forward a proposal in the next water plan. I just need another 30 seconds, thanks.
No problem, Councillor Whitfield.
Amongst other actions in the report is the recommendation to re-establish an inspection program of high-risk management systems with a target of more than 400 sites over the life of the plan. The Domestic Wastewater Management Plan 2023 aligns to the key areas of environmental stewardship in the 2040 Community Vision, the livability and sustainability pillars of the 21-25 Council Plan, and even the Climate Emergency Action Plan, particularly Action 3.3, under Caring for Land, where it states Council will deliver the regional catchment strategy in partnership with the Catchment Authority for both broad-scale and community-level projects. I'd also like to point out that the Environmental Health Team will still factor in land capability assessments when considering permits for new septic systems. It's a good chance to remind landowners that with on-site wastewater management systems, that it is their responsibility to maintain their septic in good working condition that complies with the EPA and permit requirements. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
I will reserve my right of reply.
Thank you. Any other councillors who may wish to speak to this motion? Any councillors may wish to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Whitfield. Councillor Kirby? Sorry.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank Councillor Whitfield for the in-depth knowledge and part of the report that he's has let the residents and the people know. This is a very in-depth piece of work that will be coming for the next 5 years. So, and it is very pleasing to see that we will be advocating for sewerage in Meredith. So, on their behalf, I think the rivers play a very important and vital part of our environment, and we at all times we must keep our rivers healthy. So, I look forward to working with Barwon Water, and hopefully in the future they might be able to access some extra funds to help service the Meredith area. Thank you.
Councillor Whitfield, would you like to close?
I appreciate Councillor Kirby's comments, but I have to admit I was very strongly supported by the team that supplied the report. Thank you.
Councillors, now I'll put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Can see Council gets them. I'm keeping my eyes on the big screen. I've taken your feedback on board, Councillor Getson, making sure I speak into the microphone and watch the screen. Councillors, we go to agenda item 7.6, which is awarding of a tender for the provision of concreting services. I refer councillors to page 28 of the recommendation and take this report as read. Councillors, are there any questions to the Councillor Director? If not, can I please ask for a movie of this recommendation? Councillor Rowe, thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Getson, thank you. Councillor Rowe, would you like to speak to the motion, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, listen, all I'd like to say, previously we only had one supplier delivering concrete services under contract for council. Now with this new panel of suppliers of 5 contractors, this now aligns with some of the other trades that council require. Example, electrical suppliers and plumbing suppliers who have been awarded contracts in the past by council. We all know it's very hard in this current environment to have only one supplier of service in this department. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Councillor Getson, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the directors have done a wonderful job in selecting these different companies, and for a 3-year contract it'll sort of keep everything going nicely. That the Shire have got a lot of work to do, so we do need to have all these on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillors, is there any councillors wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillors wishing to speak to them against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Ray to close.
Yes, thanks very much, Mr. Mayor. All I'd like to say, fellow councillors, I support the recommendation that resolves to award contract RFT 01-2023, the provision of concrete services for the Golden Plains Shire, with the 5 suppliers listed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rowe. Councillors, I'll now put this motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. 7.7. councillors. We now go to agenda item 7.7, which is the review of the Audit and Risk Committee Charter, which I'll refer to page 31 of the recommendation for this report and taken as read. Councillors, are there any questions to the officer regarding this agenda item? If not, can I please ask for a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder for the motion? Councillor Rowe, thank you very much. Councillor Whitfield, would you like to speak to the motion? Thank you.
Just briefly, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I might have stolen Councillor Rowe's thunder. No, I know he's on the committee, but just beat him by a second.
Okay.
So it's just part of the Audit and Risk Committee Charter to conduct an annual review of the Charter and report the outcome to Council. Minor corrections to references and punctuation within the Charter were identified at the Audit and Risk May 2023 meeting, and they have been made, and they report that the committee continues to function as required. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe, would you like to speak to the motion also?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'll probably be repeating some of the remarks made by Councillor Whitfield, but anyway, look, this was last approved by Council in the February 22 Council meeting. It is the Audit and Risk Committee Charter requires the Charter to undergo an annual review by the committee. So as Councillor Whitfield said, there's no major changes to the Charter that have occurred, only very minor corrections. Yeah, so that's all I'll say. Thank you.
Well, good, thank you. Any other councillor wishing to speak to the motion? Any councillor wishing to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Whitfield to close.
Nothing further to add. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. Agenda item 7.8, review of the Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation Planning and Environment Act of 1987. Councillors, will I refer you to page 35 for the recommendation for this report, which I've taken as read. Councillors, are there any questions to the applicable council officer regarding this recommendation? If not, can I please ask for a mover of this recommendation? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. Can I ask for a seconder? Councillor Kirby, thank you. Councillor Whitfield, can I please ask you to speak to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I move the recommendation as the motion. The Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation under the Planning and Environment Act 1987 was last reviewed and adopted by Council in May 2023. A statutory planner is commencing with Council and must therefore be authorised under this Act. The instrument ensures legislative compliance and enables officers to carry out their duties. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Whitfield, Councillor Kirby, would you like to speak to the motion, please? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kirby. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? No. Councillors wish to speak against the motion? If not, I'll ask Councillor Whitfield to close. Nothing. I'll put the motion to the vote. Councillors, all those in favour? All those in favour? Thank you, Councillor. Carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we move to agenda item 7.9, Mayoral Attendance National General Assembly, Australian Local Government Association 2023. I refer councillors to page 38 for the recommendation of this report. And I'd also just like to, if I can, provide a very an additional update report regarding this agenda item. During the week commencing Monday the 12th of June, I attended the Australian Council of Local Government that was held in Canberra. This forum brought together local and federal government leaders to discuss key national and local challenges as councillors we are facing and to workshop potential solutions. All discussions acknowledged and focused on the valuable role that local governments plays in Australia. I attended as many sessions as possible, and all the sessions were extremely informative and at times thought-provoking. In particular, I found the sessions regarding the future of local government, Australia's affordable housing crisis, and also the session regarding how we deal with and recover and work towards addressing cyclones, fires and floods. I also attended 2 sessions which were held regarding the voting and debating of over 250 motions that had been submitted by the many councils across Australia. Many were debated and voted on. That was also very interesting, and I got a lot out of that. During the week, myself, Councillor Bresslis and Director Gray also held meetings with peri-urban councillors, not only just our group that we're a member of, but we also invited and had peri-urban councils from South Australia, Queensland and New South Wales come. They were very impressive with the work that was already done and how we'd established our group. So the President Michael and CEO Bresslis are doing some work in the background to make sure that we build on that relationships, because they're very keen to continue their association with us, which will give us a bigger base, I suppose. Also, we had the opportunity to meet with Federal MP Libby Coker, and we met with many mayors and councillors of other shires and councils. Overall, it was a very, very busy week, but an extremely rewarding trip that has allowed for the opportunity for me personally to increase my knowledge of local government, to create many more new contacts, and also to continue to represent and promote the Golden Plains Shire at the opportunities I was afforded. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Kirby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, just regarding the other peri-urban councils interstate, I'm just wondering how far behind they are from our group in Victoria.
Councillor Bress? Oh, it's Councillor Bresslis, CEO Bresslis.
Yeah, on behalf of the Mayor, I guess a very interesting meeting. They were impressed at the level of coordination we've got within our peri-urban group in Victoria, but this is likely to be the beginning of a long relationship with all those other peri-urban councils around the country. We're likely to be scheduling online meetings with that same group, and including the group around Perth over the next 6 months. So we're going to continue that relationship and conversation. As you know, probably 20 or 30 years ago, the growth area councils coordinated themselves in Victoria. There's a growth area alliance around the whole country, which is similar to the growth area councils around Melbourne at the moment. They started about 20 years ago, and they're on federal committees being represented. I suspect if I could fast forward 20 or 30 years from now, the peri-urban group will have established itself and also be recognized at that federal level. So it is the beginning of something that I think many others will see into the future.
Thank you. Exciting times ahead.
Yeah, and once again, it was interesting because we had been up to Canberra earlier in the year with G21 and peri-urban. We were meeting the same politicians again, and of course they brought up about G21 and peri-urban. So both those two organisations are very well held in good esteem in Canberra. So, any other questions, councillors? If not, can I ask for a councillor to move the recommendation? Councillor Whitfield, thank you. A councillor to second. Councillor Kirby. Councillor Whitfield, can I ask you to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. I move that Council receive and note the mayoral conference report in relation to the 2023 National General Assembly. I'd like to thank Mayor Cunningham and CEO Eric Bresslis and Director Linnea Gray for attending and representing Golden Plains at the National General Assembly of Local Governments in Canberra. The Mayor has just provided a report of some of the advantages that Golden Plains receives by having our Mayor attend such events. Things like the opportunity to, along with other councils, lobby the federal government for improved partnerships with local governments, and I'm sure we made connections that will benefit our shire. I was interested to read some of the notices of motion that were submitted. Greater financial stability for councils from the federal government was one that grabbed my attention. We could always do with more funding. I know that the 3 representatives we sent, including our Mayor, would have done a fantastic job of representing us. So thank you.
Councillor Kirby, would you like to?
I'd just like to thank you for going up there and representing the Shire in particular, and being a great advocate for G21 and the peri-urban group of councils.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I might just add there too also, which I think needs to be acknowledged, the Commonwealth Government meets the cost of the actual forum. So each attendee only has to bear the cost of travel and accommodation. So there's 1,100 representatives there on the main days, and one of the things that I think impressed me was there's a real want for the current federal government to work with local government. They appreciate that, you know, everyone's different, and we noticed, I did especially on the first day, it was all rural peri-urban councils, and then on the second day the metropolitan and the big guys came in, and straight away you could see the difference in the issues that they're dealing with compared to the rural. But yes, it's federal government, from what I can see, are very committed to working with local government. So that was something else that I got from that. Councillors, I'll now put that to the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We've received no notice of motion or petitions and have no urgent business to consider. We will move on to confidential reports. There are items for consideration tonight. These items are considered confidential as defined in Section 3 of the Local Government Act. Councillors, can I please have a councillor to move the recommendation to move into closed session? Councillor Rowe, thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Kirby, thank you. I'll now put the motion. All those in favour? Carried.